Dead Chow Duo podcast episode number 59. How you doing, Alexander?
Doing pretty well, Andy. How are you?
I'm fine.
Just fine.
That's the typical response, I guess.
How was your week?
Fine, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. Do anything exciting?
No.
Yeah.
Besides messing up my sleep schedule, that's just a thrill.
Yeah, I heard about that.
And I'm currently super tired and feeling sick, so I'm at like 40% this episode.
Sorry to hear it, man.
Coming off a bad performance last episode, according to Twitter, so it's a great time.
Do we want to talk about that or?
No, I'm just saying. I'm just mentioning it.
Yeah.
How was your week, Alex?
So it was pretty frustrating, man. Like, I've been on the job hunt. I feel like I go on at least one job interview a day now. Some are a waste of time. Some are promising. And you go in. I don't really feel like I've bombed any of the interviews thus far. Like, in my life, I've probably bombed a few interviews. But that hasn't happened yet. But haven't gotten any like actual formalized offers. Gotten a lot of follow up and like, we'll call you in a week. Like, we're actually going to call you in a week type stuff. So that's been interesting. The one semi-formal offer I got was totally a joke, and we were talking about that before the show. So like, what I'm learning is there's a lot of places. So my former employer, I was being paid pretty well, but even that being said, I was pretty underpaid for what I was doing. Like, when I talked to people who had similar positions in other companies, they were like, you should be getting more. And I thought, I hit the open job market and I see what, jobs are paying on Indeed. And then it's amazing how they list the job for one salary on Indeed, obviously to get you interested, so you apply.
To debate you.
Yeah, and then when you get into that interview, like about half of the interviews I've gone on, the question is, what's the minimum amount you'll take? And that's like a really bad question to hear as a candidate, because that generally means they're going to lowball you. And the one, like I said, the one semi-formal offer I got, it was, I hate to be offensive to them, and I appreciate them sitting down and talking with me, but it was borderline offensive how low the number was. So it's been quite the week, man. Anyway, what have you been watching and playing this week, Andy?
I watched The Last Black Man in San Francisco, Marriage Story, Always Be My Maybe, Someone Great, Dolomite Is My Name, and The Laundromat. And then playing, I actually played things this week, unlike most weeks.
Mm-hmm.
I'm playing the Master Chief Collection since Reach update. Been pretty fun.
Yeah.
And then today, I woke up at like 7 p.m. I started South Park: The Stick of Truth, and I'm on the last mission right now, so...
It's a good game.
I never played that game when it came out.
Yeah, it's a really good game. And then I would tell you the Fractured But Whole is another really good... It's kind of like similar in a way, but it's...
I played that one, so...
Oh, yeah, you did play that a little bit on your channel. I never knew if you finished it, though. So,
Nope.
Yeah, man. This week, I really can't recall watching much of anything. I watched the DCD Film Club pick for this week, and, my wife's watching Friends right now, so, like, sometimes I'll be on my laptop, and I'm kind of sort of watching it while I'm looking up websites, applying for jobs, all that stuff. It's just very monotonous. It's kind of taken over my life, man. Like, it's kind of weird how that works sometimes. But in the evenings, I do try to kind of like wind down a little bit. I've been playing Forza Horizon 4. It's a really cool game to kind of like de-stress. You wouldn't think a racing game would do that, but it definitely does. And then just a little bit of World of Warcraft, but really not much. So it's been a really boring week for me in terms of entertainment.
So, Alex.
Yeah.
The WWE announced that there's going to be 63 members in the Hall of Fame being inducted.
Wait.
AKA Batista and the NWO, which has 62 members.
Okay.
What's your thoughts on that?
So, I would assume when they talk the NWO...
Yeah, I'm memeing. It's just the four. but
Yeah. Oh, okay.
it was
So
all
it's
over
just a
Twitter.
4.
People were memeing the 62.
Which 4? Because I'm assuming Hall, Nash, Hogan.
It's the WWE NWO, not the WCW. So it's Hall, Nash, Hogan, and I think X-Pac.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, to me, that's the original 4. Like, yeah, I know X-Pac was 6 because he was the 6th NWO member, but I want to say one of those members before him was Ted DiBiase, who was just a manager. Overall, I think that, it's good. I'm surprised they're not already in there. Batista makes sense because he just wrestled what should be his last match at WrestleMania. But both really need to be in the Hall of Fame. Batista had a really good career considering how late he started.
He fought in the Punjabi prison, the greatest match of all time.
Yeah, anybody who could work in that awful of a situation, because there was so first off, people that had to build that said it was remarkably hard to build and make it look good for TV. So like, it was a huge pain for the people that had to build it. But then the guys working in it said it felt really dangerous because when you would climb it, it didn't feel very stable. And if one of those reeds, if it it could stab you, it could really open you up. So like, it's amazing that they made that work. And then I'll never forget, they brought back the Punjabi prison match for, what's his name? Jinder Mahal, man. Jinder Mahal had one. And it was just a really tough match for both of those guys to work. But they made it. I hate that match. I hate that gimmick overall. Sorry if you're a Punjabi prison match person.
Oh, it's up there next to The Last Ride as the 2 greatest matches ever, obviously.
I put it up there with Judy Bagwell on a pole from the WCW days. Like those ridiculous gimmick matches that are just completely asinine. Or here's another good one. Some of you WWE fans will remember this one. Rey Mysterio and Eddie Guerrero wrestling in a ladder match for the custody of Rey Mysterio's kid.
Yeah,
that was, oh man. And then there was if you don't remember that match, please go back and watch it.
That happened when I was like 6.
As
a 6-year-old, it was still like, this shouldn't be a thing. This is stupid.
It was really stupid. And then at the very end, there's a botch because like Vicky Guerrero missed her cue. So Eddie Guerrero had to improvise, and he took this bump that he was not supposed to take. And I was really surprised he wasn't seriously injured from it because it just looked really bad. But the gimmick itself was pretty awful. Anyway, moving on to listener questions, I guess. We only have one this week, so light week on listener questions. But you can always leave us a listener question at Dead Channel Duo on Twitter, or you can email us. It's Alex at Dead Channel Duo or Andy at Dead Channel Duo. We'll definitely make time for your question. This one comes from Spoon Sandwich at Spoon Sandwich on Twitter. He asks, who wins the national championship this year in college football? And who do you think is going to grab Joe Burrow in the draft? Andy, I'll let you lead off.
I have to start this off with, I haven't watched much college football this year. I think the last game I watched was LSU Texas. So it's been a while. With that being said, I don't think with the 4 teams that are there, LSU, Ohio State, Clemson, Oklahoma is clearly not going to win it.
I'm surprised they got in.
They will never have the defense to win a championship.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really between Clemson, Ohio State, LSU, and they're great quarterbacks. Nothing against Jalen Hurts in Oklahoma, but I don't know. It's kind of a lame pick, but I think it's LSU.
Yeah, I really like the 3 teams at the top. I really just don't know how Oklahoma got in. I really didn't think they had a chance at all. But I guess Alabama losing twice kind of
and Georgia had to play LSU in the SEC championship.
Yeah, I think that kind of opened the door for them. So good for them. And never discount an underdog. And by the way, Jalen Hurts, love that guy. What he's done this year has been really impressive, and I think will lead to him. I don't know that he would have been drafted at all had he continued at Alabama. His time in Oklahoma, I think he will get drafted. Is he a first-day pick? Probably not. Almost certainly not. I think he'd probably go 4th, 5th, 6th round, something like that. But what he's done, I think, is going to give him a chance at some point to maybe play in the NFL. So, good on him. And I guess that transfer portal is good for some things. But, I really like LSU. I think Joe Burrow, his rise has been outstanding. I think he's playing the best football of any quarterback in the nation right now. It's a quarterback-driven sport, especially in college football. And
you have the top 3 quarterbacks as the top 3 teams in the playoffs.
Exactly. And even before Tua got hurt, I would tell you that Burrow was having a better year. He's really just jumped off the charts. It's kind of crazy to think he wasn't able to get a chance somewhere else. He goes to LSU, and look at him now. He's probably a shoo-in for the Heisman. But I think, honestly, what I want to see happen is I want to see Ohio State versus LSU, and then LSU goes over because it kind of be this weird redemption story for Joe Burrow. Anyway, as far as who takes him in the draft, I know everybody's saying Cincinnati right now. I don't know if Cincinnati would be totally opposed to trading down. And I really think Miami's going to want him. I feel like that's, with all those draft picks that they compiled, their GM kept talking about, we can take all these draft picks that we've attained for Laramie Tunsil and that other guy that they traded
Minkah
with
Fitzpatrick.
Them. Well, yeah, Minkah Fitzpatrick, but there was Kenny Stills was
Kenny
traded.
Stills.
Yeah, so that was a good trade for the Texans. I mean, it really was. It worked out wonderfully for them, but it was also a really good trade for the Dolphins. They got some really serious value back.
Currently, if the season ends right now, pick 4, 22, and 23.
So if I'm the Miami Dolphins, I think I would offer the entire war chest to get Joe Burrow. And I think that's the one. I like Miami's team. So Fitzpatrick has them being competitive every single week. And I kind of wonder if they could get Burrow, add a couple other nice young pieces, they'd have a scrappy little team in a weak division that could be pretty good. So, I mean, that's my thought. Who do you think is going to go grab Joe Burrow?
Realistically, I feel like Cincinnati would just do it.
Yeah.
Just cut. But, if I was the teams, first of all, I'll pick Cincinnati. I don't think they should do it. I believe in building inside out.
Yeah.
And then Giants have their quarterback. Washington has their quarterback. I mean, even if you don't believe in Dwayne Haskins, you're not going to go back-to-back years. I don't think Miami should take it at 4. If he falls to them in the 20s, which I doubt, you go for it. And then you have a bunch of teams that have quarterbacks. Detroit, Arizona, Jacksonville, maybe. That's kind of reach, though. Atlanta, the Jets. The Chargers at 10 is where I'd see it.
That's fair.
But that's also me being unrealistic, and probably either Cincinnati will do it, Miami will do it, or someone will trade up if he falls to 10.
Yeah.
I don't see him. He'll probably go in the top 5. Someone will go up and get him.
LA might be a play, though, because that's another good destination that I didn't really think of.
Could trade up and get him.
Well, yeah, they could definitely trade up, and here's why I think it might work for LA, and I mean the Chargers, not the Rams, but Phillip Rivers will probably get re-signed because I can't imagine going into a new stadium next year. They're already struggling to sell tickets currently, and they've been struggling to sell single-seat licenses in the new stadium, even as it's being built. The Rams have been remarkably more successful in selling single-seat licenses. So I think the Chargers don't want to go into a new stadium without a star like Phillip Rivers. I know he's older and all that, but he's a star.
Joe Burrow.
If you could get him,
with the stadium, get some fan interest.
It would be a really good play for him, and it wouldn't be so far from what the Rams did. They traded a ton of assets to get up there and take Goff, and I mean, thus far, I know some people are kind of lukewarm on Goff, but I think it's paid off for him. But anyway, I appreciate the question. Spoon Sandwich. It's going to be really interesting. I don't know about you, Andy. Like, I look forward to the draft every year. It's like one of my favorite weekends in sports, period.
It's the best day of the year.
I love it. I mean, me and my wife sit there and we watch it. Even my wife, who I never thought would get into a sports draft, she'll sit there and watch it with me. So looking forward to it.
I don't know. The basketball draft and the football draft, I don't know. Like
basketball draft is usually pretty fun, but it's over so quick, you know?
That's kind of, I don't know, it's still kind of fun.
It is.
But, I don't know, like, I say this, and I don't know if it's controversial or hot take, but the draft is the funnest day in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
And I hate the Super Bowl. I'm like the weirdest person ever. I hate the Super Bowl, even though it's the purpose of playing the sport. I think the NFC AFC Championship games recently have been really interesting, but normally they're not.
Yeah.
But like the draft is just every team's excited. Everyone's having positive vibes. There's no losers. I mean, there is losers, but
yeah,
you know, leading up to it, everyone's excited.
No, I'm with you. I mean, football is kind of a weird sport because the playoffs are not the most exciting playoffs in sports, honestly, because a lot of games are blowouts. There's some serious mismatches. We've gotten some real stinkers of Super Bowls in terms of competitiveness. I'm not one of those people that needs a high-scoring game, but I do want a competitive game. And it's been about 50-50 lately, whereas when I was a kid, it seemed like it was always a blowout. But my point is, the draft is really exciting. The other thing I would tell people about the NFL is I actually prefer the regular season. Like right now, where we're at in that regular season,
better.
It's really fun right now because there's all these teams jockeying for playoff position. Some guys are playing for home field advantage. Some people are like coaching for their jobs, basically.
Yeah.
It's very intriguing stuff. And then there's always teams like the Miami Dolphins who I think are just happy to spoil someone's year, you know? So like even the teams that are eliminated, I think are really going out there and trying. But I don't know. There's probably a case or two that you could say, oh, they really don't care. Anyway.
Speaking of playoffs and a sport that has a way more interesting playoffs, the MLB.
Yep.
MLB The Show coming to other console platforms as early as 2021, announced by Sony and the MLB.
It's a really smart move. I saw some people with what I would call very misinformed takes on Twitter about this news. I think it's a real positive for Sony, baseball, and Xbox and Switch console owners alike. So,
yeah.
I'd be interested in hearing your take on this, Andy, but I think this is a really smart move. Somebody said that the MLB sort of twisted San Diego Studios and Sony into doing this to keep the exclusivity, but I don't know how true that is. And like,
there was no exclusivity. There's RBI baseball. I mean, it's a completely inferior game, but they don't have exclusive rights.
Do they have the players in RBI baseball though?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Well, then
RBI,
I guess
like it's not an exclusive thing. RBI baseball is straight up. I mean, it's an arcade take on the genre, but it's still they don't have exclusivity rights.
I wanted to say that they did. I thought they had some sort of exclusivity with just the players alone. I don't know. Well, then maybe I'm the one that's misinformed. But I saw people getting very upset about this. You know, like, oh, I can't believe they're going to put it on Xbox. This is going to be terrible for this game series as a whole. I just don't think so, man. You know, this is going to be a huge revenue boost for them. It basically opens up a whole nother 2 doors of revenue. I don't know how this would sell on the Switch. I don't know if I see this as a big Switch title, but I think there's going to be a lot of Xbox gamers who would flock to this, myself being one of them, because I just prefer the Xbox controller over the PlayStation one. But, it's kind of like when Microsoft decided, okay, we bought Double Fine, but we're not going to make Psychonauts 2 an Xbox exclusive. We'll sell it on everything because you're still going to make the money. You still own it's like Sony still owns San Diego Studios. So
if anything, there's nothing to complain about because like this will give San Diego an opportunity to have a bigger studio.
Yeah.
Like It's you could theoretically double the studio in size, make a better game, and Sony's making like when you launch the game, it's gonna say Sony.
Yeah. I think it's a smart move. I also think that this is kind of a move industry-wide that's starting to happen. A console exclusivity for games is becoming a dead concept. Like, third-party games, they don't want to be console exclusives, generally speaking. Some do. Sometimes they get a really good deal. But right now, we kind of live in this world where it's only first-party titles that are console exclusives, and Microsoft's kind of already like hinted and suggested that at some point they might put Game Pass on Switch, Game Pass on PS4. Obviously, Game Pass is already on PC. I just think the days of console wars, I think it's kind of dying. I don't know.
Even if there's still a console war, like you still kind of want exclusives.
Yeah.
But MLB, I don't think is a system seller. Like, I mean, I bought the PS4 just for MLB. Yeah. But I don't think there's thousands of people like me.
I don't know that there's many. I just don't know that there's many exclusives that really move the needle in terms of hardware sales. Maybe Halo still, maybe Gears of War to a small extent. And then on the Sony side, obviously God of War, and some of their Last of Us.
Resistance. Can't wait. It'll come out eventually.
Okay, so I'm just going to throw this out there. At the time, Resistance was an amazing first-person shooter on PS3 on a system that honestly, like PS2 and PS3 at that time did not have good first-person shooters. Killzone was pretty much the only one that was considered a hot first-person shooter. So Resistance kind of filled that need for a while. I'd love to see the series come back. I'd play it. Anyway, speaking of things coming back, Resident Evil 3 Remake is announced for April 3rd, 2020. Andy, what do you think about that, man?
That's fun.
Really?
As someone who's never played the Resident Evil series but is aware that they're great, you can now, I think, play mostly all of them on the Xbox One.
Yeah.
Whenever this comes out. You can play 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Revelations, Raccoon City 6, 7. I think there could be one I'm missing.
You're probably missing one, but I mean, there's a lot of them.
But all those are on the Xbox
remember.
One.
Yeah, you certainly did better than I could. I would have missed several in there, and I know they had like all little
get them in the correct order, but
yeah, I know they have some like little side games that I can't remember the name of at the moment. But I think this is a good thing. It probably brings Resident Evil 3 to a new generation. I also heard, and this will probably end up being like oops, we made a mistake, here's a correction next week. But I want to say Resident Evil 2, the remake, outsold the original Resident Evil 2.
I mean, probably. It was a Game of the Year candidate.
And Capcom was very, I guess, enthusiastic about that. I know I've kind of bemoaned remakes and remasters, but this is one of those series where it's so old. Like, Resident Evil 3 originally came out on the PS1, if I'm not mistaken. Again, that'll probably be a correction next week, but Resident Evil 2 definitely came out on PS1, and I don't even know how. It would be pretty hard to track down an original. And even then, like, if you did, it probably looks pretty rough. So, like, I think it's okay that they're remaking it. It lets a whole new generation play it. And I know they add, like, little new things in there, too. They put in, like, little new Easter eggs for you to find, and that's kind of cool. So, good on Capcom. Keep going. Keep making games, please.
I can't find the original numbers, but Resident Evil 2 has sold 5 million units.
That's
the remake, not the original.
That's staggering. I would assume that that's more.
Just surely based on the amount of gamers, I feel like it's got to be.
It's a bigger industry now too, and the other thing that you have to keep in mind is when the original Resident Evil 2 came out, a lot of people rented games. They didn't buy them. They couldn't afford it. I know my family couldn't afford buying new games with any kind of frequency, so you could go to Blockbuster and you could rent a game for like $4 or $5. It's actually kind of cool. I kind of miss that. but
You can still do it. Family Video still exists.
there are none of those in my area.
You drive.
Kind of defeats the purpose, doesn't it, Andy? I don't know.
What's that? GameFly. Get a GameFly subscription.
You know, I was a longtime GameFly customer, and I think they actually provide a really good service. And it was a couple of years ago when I got the Switch. I didn't know what games I wanted to buy. So GameFly was like, hey, you want to rejoin for $1? So I rejoined for $1 and kept it for a few months and got to try out some Switch games. So GameFly is a great service. It's just something about video stores, man. It was cool walking in a video store and you got to see all the games. Like they had the box out there and you'd be like, oh, this one looks good. And then you go like look for a movie and you're like, oh, this movie looks good. And there was no Rotten Tomatoes back then. You just like, the guy behind the counter would give you recommendations.
There was an IMDb.
Wait, not then. I'm talking about
IMDb started in the 90s.
Oh, well, I wasn't aware of it, man. Then again, I didn't get on the internet until like 98.
Yeah, IMDb started October 17th, 1990.
Did not know that. I learned something today. I wonder what that 1990 website looked like.
I've been rewatching The Angry Video Game Nerd recently, and he has an episode in the first season where he talks about movie titles.
Yeah,
and he shows like the old school IMDb page, and it looks weird.
Yeah, I assume it would be. Even in '98 when I got on the internet for the first time, websites were really, really basic. Like very few pictures.
Archive.com or .org. I don't know which one it is.
It's actually pretty crazy to go on there. Like if you really want to throw yourself for a loop, go on that website and then like look up what Facebook used to look like. Blows your mind, dude. Totally blows your mind. Now it's like totally different than what it used to be. So, moving on from that, Game Awards were last night. Lots of news from that. Andy, what were your takeaways from the Game Awards?
Well, from the awards standpoint, I like that Sekiro won Game of the Year.
Good for them.
Over Death Stranding.
That made me really happy. I mean, Death Stranding, if they won that would have been great. But Sekiro is just such a great game. And
it kind of validates, like, we talked about it when Sekiro came out. It's kind of like the first... I mean, it's kind of AAA budget, but it was like non-Resident Evil Grand Theft Auto single-player game.
Yeah, I actually think it's proof that you can make a new IP that is just a single-player experience, doesn't have online play, doesn't have microtransactions, and it's a full, complete game for $60 that someone can sit down with and have just an amazing time playing. And that's kind of cool.
It also proves that From Software can make things that isn't the Souls games.
I hate that stigma that From Software has, because they've made some really good stuff in the past that had nothing to do with Dark Souls. Enchanted Arms would be like a really good example that I could give you on that. Yeah. But I know, like, nowadays everybody's like, they can only make Dark Souls type games. Look at Bloodborne. It's basically dark. Like, I even saw people saying Sekiro was basically just Dark Souls with swords. I'm like, shut up. Like, it's not. The only thing that they have similar is difficulty level. But I don't know. So,
I mean, it's the same genre, I guess.
Yeah, I guess it is the same genre. So, any other takeaways from the actual awards, Andy, before we get to the real big news? The thing that, like, shook everybody?
I'm super mad Tetris 99 didn't win Multiplayer Game of the Year. But
Tetris 99 is legit.
Yeah, the Xbox Series X. It's PC Tower is coming.
Well, yeah.
All day 2020.
Yeah, I'm really scared. Not for me personally. I looked at it, and because I'm someone who builds PCs, because I'm someone from that world, I understand why it looks the way it looks.
Yeah.
Thermals. It's all about thermals. And if you don't believe me, fire up an Xbox One X or a PlayStation Pro and put your hand near the vent, and you'll find out really quick that the more horsepower you pack in a little box like that, it gets really hot really fast. The Switch even gets pretty hot too. So I like that they're sort of thinking outside the box in terms of form factor. I know some people were really turned off by it. I'm not one of those people, because I looked at it and I said, if it's going to be that big, if it's going to be that shape, they're probably packing in some serious horsepower, which is what the Xbox brand has always been about up until Xbox One, when they nerfed the horsepower in favor of a Kinect camera. Biggest mistake they ever made, period, in terms of a console launch. But I think this is a return to form for Xbox in terms of, we are going to have the best specs out of the box amongst our competitors, aside from PC, but I don't really consider PC a competitor.
Yeah, it's
I
different.
also think that this is going to kind of blur the lines a little bit between PC and Xbox gaming. Those lines are already pretty blurred. To give you perspective, I own Forza Horizon 4. I don't play it on my Xbox. I play it on my PC because it's Xbox Live Play Anywhere. I think every first party title going forward from Microsoft is going to be Xbox Live Play Anywhere.
Yeah.
I think it's all going to be on Game Pass day one. And I think the idea is going to be, they want a seamless experience. And it's so crazy how seamless it is with cloud saves. And then obviously Project X Cloud coming out soon. I think they're going to want a seamless experience where the Xbox ecosystem can be used on a mobile device, the console at home, or any PC. And I think that's really cool and futuristic, and it's bold. And like, if you're saying that's all lame and I prefer Sony anyway, that's cool. Like, that's all you. But Sony's kind of headed in that same direction. Like, that's where the industry is going. It's moving towards subscription models, cloud computing, and sort of games as a service, as much of a bad word that is to say amongst gamers, but like it's kind of moving that way. It's not going to be like it was this generation. And I think physical media will continue to decline, just like it did this generation.
Hey, it has a disk drive.
It does have a disk drive, but I know I'm one of the only people that's out there still buying physical games.
You gotta put the Blu-ray somewhere.
I've been telling my wife this lately, and she's totally on board with it, because I'm like, there's going to come a day when there's no more Blu-ray drives. Like, they're just not going to be a thing. So like, now I won't buy a movie if it doesn't come with the digital version. I won't buy it. There's just no point.
I mean, I don't know, but like, same time, what if Voodoo's owned by Walmart. Walmart's not going to go under. But hypothetically, if Walmart was like, we're shutting this down,
I would assume that they... Well, I mean, that's fair.
Screwed.
Well, okay. Hear me out on this, though. Steam is a really good example, and I would assume... I don't know enough about Voodoo. I haven't researched this because you're the first person who's ever said that to me. But when Steam first came out, I remember people were saying, that's a terrible idea. Like, what if Valve goes under? They actually have binding legal agreements where if they went under, they would have to spin that service off and maintain it. Like, they can't. They have a contingency plan. So like, I would assume Voodoo would be the same way. And listen, I'm
Voodoo's
all
owned
about,
by Walmart, so
yeah, I mean, I'm all about physical media. Like, believe me when I say I love physical media. But one thing that I've run into as I've gotten older is it's getting really hard to store it all. It takes up a lot of space. And then the other thing is, eventually I think it's just going to go away. But I don't know. Andy, are you going to be getting the new Xbox Series X?
No, I'm just not.
No?
Switch guy now. I'm kidding, Alexander.
You always shock me, dude. I don't know. I saw some people going, I ain't putting this thing in my house. This thing looks ugly. I don't care if it looks like a trash
I don't care
bin.
what it looks like.
Yeah, I don't care what it looks like. I don't sit there and stroke it at night and like, oh man, look at how good that looks on my entertainment center. I don't give it.
Like,
I don't care.
if the Atari 5200 was a good console, I don't care that looks like a piece of crap.
So, I know I'm going to get some hate for this. I think the PS4 looks like a sandwich, and I just can't get that out of my head. And I've never really like loved the way it looked. Like over time, I've kind of grown
I don't
to
care
like the look.
how any of it looks though.
But I didn't care. Like I was like, what am I going to do? Stare at? I'm not even looking at the console. I'm looking at the game on the TV. But I don't know. Yeah,
Well,
I'll be
I'm gonna
getting
ask
one.
before we move on. The gameplay trailer they showed for Hellblade 2.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't believe it. Like, obviously, I don't know. It's like the age-old thing. They CGI it, and they're acting like it's actual gameplay. But
It's a tale as old as time, Andy.
Yeah.
I'll never forget the PlayStation 2 when they introduced the PlayStation 2 and they were talking about the cell processor at E3. This was way before the PlayStation 2 came out, by the way. They were saying that we'll be able to do graphics that look as good as Toy Story. And at the time, Toy Story CGI was like unbelievable, like in terms of how good it looked. PlayStation 2 never pushed graphics out like that. It's, you know, it's just marketing stuff. So I kind of always, I'm like you, man. I take it with a grain of salt.
like legit, the trailer they showed looked like IRL. So
Yeah. So
speaking of things that look like IRL, I guess. I don't know. Ghostbusters Afterlife.
Oh my god, that
was the worst segue ever. But
dude, no, I'm like, it was so bad, it was good. It was like thanks killing the segue. I just like, I was like, man, this is awful, but I love it. Ghostbusters Afterlife, man. So, are you a Ghostbusters fan at all, Andy? Did you watch the originals? Do you like them?
I mean, I've seen them. Yeah.
Okay. Did you like them?
I don't know.
What do you mean you don't know?
I watched them as a kid. I can't tell you like.
Oh, okay. Okay, so you never went back and like rewatched them.
No, I don't care about a show. I don't care about a movie that came out 15 years before I was born.
That's fair. That's fair. You know, so I was the perfect age for it. You know, Ghostbusters 1 and 2 were a big deal. They were just massive. It was just this massive franchise. Kids just loved it. They ate it up. And then they had a Saturday morning cartoon too. So I used to watch that as a kid.
7 seasons.
I can't believe it lasted 7 seasons, but I know you're right because someone was like, yeah, man, that Ghostbusters cartoon went on forever. I was like, wow, I don't really remember it going on for that long, but it certainly did.
Did you play the SNES game or the NES game first?
I vaguely remember playing it, but I'm gonna be honest, man. Like, I don't remember.
Garbage. It was god awful.
I don't know, dude. So like, when people ask me about what I remember about NES, I remember playing Tetris. I remember playing the Mario games, Duck Hunt for sure, Donkey Kong Jr., Excite Bike, Balloon Fight. That's about it. I don't remember DuckTales. I remember playing the absolute. I just played the tar out of that. I was gonna say something else, but no, I can't do that on a podcast. But yeah, like I'm sure I played Ghostbusters, but I just don't really remember much of it. Cause like that was what you used to do, man. Like, and it's kind of what like makes me sad about physical media. But I'm sure they'll find some way to do this. Like when your friends would come over, they bring their own games. So like, it's how you got to play new stuff.
You can do that now. You just gotta download them. Wait 8 hours for them to get done.
Yeah, they got to figure out a better way to do that. I really hope
put it on a
do.
USB stick and then you just plug it in. It's that simple.
It's so silly. It's so silly. Anyway, Ghostbusters Afterlife trailer. Going back to that, I was pretty excited, man. Like, you know, they got some very good child actors and actresses involved. Apparently, you know, the original cast is going to be involved as much as possible. Obviously, we won't get Ramis or Moranis in there for obvious reasons, but
Rick Moranis, man.
Yeah.
He's supposed to be a guest in episode 30-something.
He was supposed to be a guest in episode 30. Rick Moranis, if you're out there listening, I know you are.
Yeah,
you are.
We know.
Dude, we could bring him on for episode 60. That's just...
Did you see, you know, Joe Pesci came back? He was great.
Yeah.
In The Irishman, you can come back and do a podcast.
You can come back and do a podcast. It'll be the perfect platform for you to relaunch your amazing career, and like, you know, like that you don't need to relaunch because you're amazing, but
you'll get like the Honey I Shrunk the Kids remake.
Yeah.
Where you're the grandpa.
I mean, there you go. The title writes itself for episode 60. How Honey I Shrunk the Podcast. Rick Moranis with Andy and Alex hanging out, talking about where he's been. Anyway, it looks really good. Ghostbusters Afterlife, I was pretty hyped, man. And I really want to see what they can do with today's special effects. I feel like they could do even cooler stuff than what they did in the 80s with Ghostbusters, which is saying a lot because those movies still look pretty good today.
Yeah, something I love
I'm hyped, so
with your tweet and how you're responding about this.
Uh-oh.
You're just blatantly ignoring the 2016 Ghostbusters movie.
What 2016 Ghostbusters movie?
The female-led Ghostbusters movie.
I'm not aware of that, Andy.
I mean,
I don't know what you're talking about.
You should check it out, man.
I'm looking it up here on my Google machine. Nothing's coming up for me, Andy.
You try Bing.
Huh?
Or try DuckDuckGo.
DuckDuckGo? What is that?
The best search engine. You know what DuckDuckGo is?
Oh, I didn't even know that was a thing.
DuckDuckGo is... It was a meme in high school. One of our teachers was like, I only use DuckDuckGo because the government doesn't track DuckDuckGo.
That's so stupid. You know what's really stupid is when people they say, dude, doesn't matter what I do on my home PC, nobody's ever I could do criminal stuff on there. I'm going through a VPN, you know, like I pay $5 a month for a VPN for a reason. Nobody's ever gonna. You think if the FBI goes to NordVPN, NordVPN's gonna be like, no, we're not going to take this subpoena. We're refusing to give you the information because this idiot pays us $5 a month. You are not secure. They will hand your stuff over in a heartbeat. Do not think $5 a month is worth them going completely under. And if the FBI or the CIA, especially the CIA, wants stuff, they get it. The only entity who has ever gotten away with telling the FBI no right now is Apple. There was some drug lord who had a phone, and he had a really complicated passcode on it, because you can set a really complicated one.
Yeah. And
they were trying to crack it. CIA and FBI go to Apple and they're like, you got to crack this for us. We have a judge who's given us a search warrant. Apple was like, no, we don't. We're not doing that. But don't think that NordVPN is going to protect you for $5 a month. It just doesn't happen.
Also, we keep on hop, skipping, and jumping away from the topic.
No, I got some Ghostbusters Afterlife. Looks great.
You excited about it?
Yeah, I'm going to go see it in theaters. I can't wait. Yeah. It's right up there with Sonic. I know I'm going to see it in theaters. I'll probably see it day one. My wife's hyped. She wants to go see it. What do you think about it, Andy?
I just,
You hate everything.
I'll watch it.
I'll watch it.
No one will take my opinion seriously. Or they won't let me speak my opinion before saying my opinion doesn't matter.
There's so much salt in that statement, and I love it.
I mean, it's a fact.
I really don't want to address all that stuff, but I will say this, when I watch, because I edit the podcast, you guys know that probably if you watch the show or listen to it. When I go back and I edit it, I do watch it really sped up. So Andy talks really fast already, but I can still understand him. But what makes the show great is the collision of ideas, right? If we just sat here and agreed with each other for an hour, that'd be kind of a boring show, right?
Yeah. Where's the Stay Puft Man in Ghostbusters Afterlife?
I don't know.
My actual opinion, I hope the OG members aren't in it at all, even though they will be. I in the trailer they did a little nod, oh, it's the grandpa or the granddaughter. It's not gonna happen, but I wish that was it. It was just she was the granddaughter or grandson. I don't know which I forgot what character it was. I watched the trailer a week ago. I wish there's nothing to do with it, you know?
If I was writing it, I would have tried to stay as true to Harold Ramis and Dan Aykroyd's original vision as possible. And by the way, they may be doing that, where the idea was the third Ghostbusters movie was going to be very light on the original Ghostbusters, and they were going to pass the torch to a new generation of Ghostbusters, and then from there they can continue the series. I don't know what you're talking about with this 2016 stuff. Like, I really, like, I'm going to research it, but I really think you're mistaken, Andy. I don't think that exists. But at least we still have the cartoon and the original two, and Ghostbusters Afterlife looks really tight, and I'm really excited about it. Anyway.
But Alex.
Yeah?
As I'm getting under your skin, DCD Film Club this week was my pick. It was Under the Skin from 2013. Alexander, what did you think of it?
So this is definitely my first time seeing this film, and I knew nothing about it. And where do I start? So, spoiler alert, if you don't want anything spoiled, jump to the next timestamp, or even better, pause the podcast and go watch this.
It's on Netflix.
Yeah, it's on Netflix, so you can check it out on there, and I think you could get a free trial with a fake email address in no time. So definitely my first time watching it. Scarlett Johansson plays a character who basically is abducting men for an unknown purpose. Well, it's kind of explained, but not really fully explained. But and it's very sci-fi. I kind of felt like it was a mystery movie to a point, because I just kept trying to figure out what is actually going on here. Like, what's the payoff? And then at the end, I won't ruin it for anybody, but there is a payoff, and you're like,
and we're in spoiler territory.
Well, yeah, but I mean, the payoff is really good on this one. So I really liked it for a number of reasons. The first one is I love how they shot the film. They used a lot of hidden cameras, if that makes sense.
It's mostly hidden. There's no Scarlett Johansson. There's like 4 actual actors. The rest of it is hidden cameras.
Yeah, and like a lot of the people that they utilized, as you said, were not professional actors or actresses. Yeah. So I thought those were 2 really unique choices. Visually, using hidden cameras, I think, was bold, but it paid off. And it gave this film a very unique look that I really enjoyed. It made it feel very intimate, which I think kind of goes into the theme of this movie. You know, everybody, when you watch this, you might get a different interpretation than I did. And when I did research on this, I found that some people got my interpretation of it. Some people got a different one. Some people got both. I think there's a lot that's kind of open to your own worldview even. But, Scarlett Johansson's character seems like this foreign entity that is longing for intimacy, but can't really truly experience it. And Andy's totally disagreeing. I could just tell by the look on his face.
You're kind of there, my interpretation, but
I just felt like, and by the way, Scarlett Johansson's performance in this is amazing.
Yeah.
The whole time she feels very awkward. And like, I get what they were going for, because at the end you find out I think, like, my guess is that she's an alien who's traveled here.
That's what the book says she is.
And when you see that, you go, okay, it all makes sense now. All the awkwardness, all of the lack of social conventions, even the way she converses with people in the film is it's not how a normal person would carry on a conversation. It's very inquisitive to an uncomfortable standpoint, and it makes the people that she's talking to uncomfortable visibly, and it's just so well done, and it's such a great performance. And I think it also says something about, like, the human experience and, like, what it is to be human, and how, like, gender sort of, this is going to be controversial, but gender sometimes does affect what your experience in society would be. Like, men in this movie go over her house not knowing a single thing about her. Like, they just go, you know, like they have no fear whatsoever of like getting murdered, or maybe it's a trap, or maybe they get robbed or anything like that. And then like on Scarlett Johansson's side, the reason she seems so out of place is because a female would not act like this in today's society. And I think it is kind of a statement on like gender does identify what your life experiences will probably be, for better or for worse. And I just like the very end, it really hit me hard. Like when she's staring at her face, I was like, wow, that's kind of a powerful moment and a powerful shot. And then, you know, the ending is the end. Presumably she dies. And I guess it was worth it for the experience. Like, I just wish, and I think that's part of what makes it so cool of a story, is I don't get all the answers to all the questions I had. You know, like, yeah, you're not supposed to. And I think that's kind of what makes it so neat and mysterious. And it really, like, I watched it today right before we recorded, and I feel like I'm still digesting it almost. Yeah. Like there's a lot of stuff that you have to take in. But like, again, just to quickly summarize, cinematography was great. I thought it was a really bold choice to do what they did, and I think it paid off. Gwyneth Paltrow, not Gwyneth, I'm sorry. I always get Gwyneth Paltrow and Scarlett Johansson mixed up for some reason. I don't know why. Scarlett Johansson's performance is amazing. Just a terrific performance, jumped off the page. Might be the best thing I've ever seen her do, and that's saying a lot. She's very talented, and she's done a lot of great stuff. The score was really good. Like, it made me feel it was very unsettling.
It gets under your skin.
It really, I see what you did there. And like, it's got some good themes. And, you know, my favorite part about it is those were my takeaways. Those were the themes that I picked up on. And I bet if I showed this to my wife, she'd have a different idea of like what to get out of it. And I think that's a good thing. So this was really, and what I would tell you is please be patient with this film, because the first 20 minutes I was like, what am I watching? Like, what is going on? I was completely lost. But if you can get through that, stick with it, it's really a cool ride. I'm sad it didn't do well in the box office. Andy, what do you think about this?
So, I mean, pretty much, yeah, it's incredible. My interpretation of the movie, and kind of, I think the more public interpretation of the movie, is that, I mean, you kind of got it, what you're saying. So she's an alien. It starts off, the very first shot of the movie is the creation of an eye. And it's like, you know, the eye is the window into your soul. So it's the creation of her. The song that's playing in the soundtrack is also called Creation. So it kind of gives you a hint. And then you hear her talking. She's learning language. And then there's this motorcycle dude. Motorcycle dude gets this woman, brings her to her, and you strip her naked. And at first you think the lady's dead, but then you realize that she's not dead and she's crying. She's like a live person. And the interpretation is that Scarlett Johansson, like, that's an alien that was Scarlett Johansson's replacing to do the same task. And they don't really tell you what they're doing or why they're doing it. Their task is basically to hunt men and take their meat, and I don't know what they're doing with it. Like, I couldn't tell you. But then, like, it follows her for like 30, 40 minutes hunting men. Then slowly, she starts to feel sympathy for the human race and starts to fall in love with it by like the small things, like the rose. Like, the guy was giving out roses and like being kind, even though he was bleeding and it was hurting him to do it, but he's still doing it. And then at one point she like falls down and everybody stops to pick her up. And like, it shows the kindness in human beings.
When she meets the disfigured guy, like, it was really evident, like, she couldn't go through with it.
And then like there's a huge like there's like an emotional shift in her. Like in the beginning of the movie, she's like super soulless, and then there's the part like where she's in the club and she's feeling all these emotions or trying to feel all these emotions, and then she wants to run away. Like the motorcyclist is like the leader. Is my interpretation of like this alien group, or like she's kind not maybe not the main leader, but like that's her boss. And then she tries to run away from him. That's the whole like she gets on the bus, runs away, and she's trying to turn into a human, and then the ending's kind of her to not keep on like going with it. She eventually dies figuring out that she can't be what she wants to be, that she wants to be human, and she can never be a human.
Yeah. It's pretty powerful, dude.
Yeah.
I was really impressed with this one. Probably one of my favorite things that we've covered on Film Club. That
Really good.
I should say the one of my favorites that I haven't already seen. Like this was something totally not on my radar.
I was nervous for this one because I felt like you might have came back and been like, oh, you just showed me some pretentious movie.
So I guess you could maybe say that if you really wanted to about this film.
I don't know. I think it's
pretentious. Great. Well, yeah. I just hold on one second, Andy. I'm gonna have to turn on my webcam for just a moment. All right. Sorry about that. So what I was saying, and I apologize to the listeners on that one, but I guess you could say it's pretentious, but like I don't know, man. I feel like there's enough of a thematic progression to make it something where it's
earned.
To me, pretentious when it comes to filmmaking is, well, it doesn't really have any solid meat to it thematically, but it has all these cool camera shots and like everything's very nouveau riche. Like that's pretentious.
I think it's like it's thinking that every scene means something.
Yeah.
It's like every little detail is purposely put there for a reason because the director's some mastermind.
Yeah, I totally know what you're
As much as I love
saying.
Kubrick, I don't think he's that meticulous.
Sometimes Kubrick would go a little bit too crazy. I mean, I'll even admit that. Like, specifically, if we're talking about The Shining.
A complete madman to call Kubrick pretentious.
Well, I'm just talking about, like...
Yeah.
So, the best example I could give is The Shining, where... if you watch The Shining once, you probably missed a lot of little things, a lot of little clues, a lot of little details. And like, I get that sometimes frustrates people because they just want to be able to watch the film, see it for what it is, and move on. So, but I mean, yeah, this I wouldn't even dare to call this pretentious. And I loved it from... I would say 25 minutes in to finish, I really fell in love with it. The first 25 minutes, I was like, I don't know what I'm watching. I was really confused. I actually rewound it a couple times to try and gather what was going on. But then like when I eventually found out is I'm probably never going to know who the motorcycle guy is, you know? And... no. At one point, the motorcycle guy is running around with some other motorcyclists, and it almost makes you think that there might be more of these alien creatures than we originally thought. So it's very...
It's kind of a horror movie.
Oh God, I really felt the horror. Like, the scene where you see the guy get turned into meat, and then like this red sludge, and it goes down... That was pretty jarring. I didn't see that coming. Like that's what so for me, horror, it's all about not shock value, but giving me something unexpected, not a jump scare. And when that happened, I was like, I did not see that coming. And that like really kind of threw me off. I was like, whoa, what's going on here? Yeah. Also, it was definitely horror when she's dealing with the disfigured guy, and I'm like, if she kills him, that's dark. Because, like, you know, I get it. You kind of, you take advantage of kind of a jerk, you know, that kind of guy. But, like, the little disfigured fella, like...
He's the only guy that doesn't fully focus on her.
Yeah, he didn't...
He's not hypnotized by her beauty.
Yeah, he doesn't care about any of that. He just wanted to go to the supermarket. But it was kind of beautiful when she let him go. Because you're like... It was weird. Like I almost felt like it was her most human experience with him, because it wasn't all the other guys she dealt with. It was, you're so beautiful, oh my God, and it's so like skin deep. Whereas when she was talking to him, it was like she actually did connect on like an emotional level, and I thought that was really cool, and just a really great choice and performance by that actor, who actually does look like that. I looked him up. I was like, I wonder if that's a prosthetic. I thought it was a makeup job, but it wasn't. I don't know. It was really good, Andy. It was a great pick.
Yeah. Before we get to our ratings, Dumbest Sphinx sent me his opinions on Twitter, and I wasn't going to mention it until you told me your opinion.
Yeah.
Dumbest Sphinx's opinion. It was a movie that exists. I don't know how I feel about it, honestly. I wasn't bored because I wasn't wondering what the girl even was. I wasn't too happy with the ending. I don't know. I don't have many opinions. 5 out of 10. And then he told me not to say it on the podcast.
Okay, well, I'm kind of sad that we didn't go with Dumbest Sphinx wishes, because God, that guy's such a great listener. He's been with us from the very start, and I know some of you have been as well. But like, man, Dumbest Sphinx is like, he would always ask me when we weren't doing the podcast. He's like, "Is it gonna come back?" Like, he really wanted it to come back. So yeah, I appreciate his take, and Dumbest Sphinx, if you ever want us to talk about your opinion on a film, you just email me, man. I'd love to hear your opinion.
If he reviews on Letterboxd, I always message him, and I'm like,
yeah,
what do you think?
I think he watches just about every DCD Film Club, and I know, again, some other people do too. But and by the way, I anybody can email me and give me their take, and I'd probably read it anyway. But I love getting his because every week in the comments on YouTube, I look for it. He always puts a rating. Love it.
Normally he watches it after we record. That's why I don't.
Yeah.
Go out and try to get his opinion.
Yeah, that's fair. So yeah, I really like this one. I think it's really good. I'm so sad that it was a box office failure, because I wish people made more films like this. Out of 10, I'm going to give it a 7.5. It's really good. And I would tell people, please go check it out. If you have Netflix, check it out.
Yeah.
Try it out.
Well, to go with the trend, I give it an 8 out of 10. So I gave it more than you.
Well, there we go.
I do think it's a 10 out of 10, but I'm not. Maybe in more repeated viewings, I would like it more. I think I don't have any problems with the movie. Like, there's no criticism I have. I'm just not deeply in love with it, if that makes any sense.
Makes sense. I think
it's closer to a 9 than an 8. Or closer to a 9 than a 7, I mean.
Fair enough. I mean, like 7.5 for me. I would tell you, if I'm saying something's a 7.5, you got to, like, that's me telling you, go see it. Like, it's really good.
Yeah. Before we move on to sports, you did mention jump scares, and there's something I wish I mentioned on the podcast when we reviewed Hereditary, when we talked about jump scares, and I never got to mention it because we kind of skipped over it. But my opinion on jump scares is obviously, like, I don't know. I wanted to ask you this and Daniel when he's on the show. You hate jump scares. You made it blatantly obvious that you do. But what about like earned jump scares? Like in The Thing, whenever they're testing the blood samples, spoiler, and slowly does each one, and slowly going through, and after like 6 or 7 of them, it finally jump scares.
That's fine. okay, so let me try to give you examples of what I would consider to be good jump scares, bad jump scares. So, what you just described is a very good example of a good or earned jump scare. Hereditary, the moment where the mom is
Banging her head.
or the piano wire, right? Those were jump scare moments for me. Those felt earned because there's a buildup. It simmers. It's a payoff, right? I hate cheap jump scares like, what's the Paranormal Activity? Paranormal Activity, I feel like, just started this whole genre of horror movies that's all cheap jump scare, jump scare, jump scare, jump scare, false jump scare, jump scare. You know, I think those are too much. But I think if it's something like what's done with Hereditary or The Thing, yeah, that works. But I will tell you, Daniel would be a really insightful person to get a take from on that, because I know he's quite the horror film expert. Like he knows a lot about that genre, and I won't speak for him, but I'm pretty sure he's not a huge fan of jump scares in general. But I don't know.
I mean, on the show he said he wasn't, but
yeah, I feel like I remember a conversation with him where he was like, it's just, if it's overdone, it starts to become like hackneyed. And I would agree with that take. I really do think it can get massively overdone, and Paranormal Activity would be a very good example.
The first Paranormal Activity isn't, like, the first Paranormal Activity is actually, like, it's not that bad. I mean, there's still, like, jump scares all the time, but they set up, like, scare zones where you, like, I don't know how to explain it. Like, because
I know what you mean, though.
There's certain shots that you know something's going to happen, and then there's safe shots.
In every movie, they have a camera. And the camera goes right, and then left, and then right,
that's
and then it goes
insidious.
left, and there's something there, and you're like, oh.
That's more of Insidious than Paranormal.
Paranormal Activity. No, okay, maybe not the first one. I want to say
the first one's a completely, like, the camera doesn't move.
Well, no,
I know.
like,
sitting on a shelf.
On that one, yes. I want to say it was 3 that I saw, and the guy put up a camera, like a point and shoot camera on.
Yeah, I'm talking about the first one, not the other ones, like just the first one.
Well, I don't know. Just another film we disagree on, probably.
I mean, they have Paranormal. I don't know which one. There's one where it happens in the past, before there was cameras, and it doesn't make any sense to, like, it doesn't make any sense. I'm pretty sure, I could just be tripping. I'm pretty sure one of the movies is set in, like, the 40s or something like that.
That sounds like someone dropped some acid, and they're like, what if I did a found footage movie with no found footage? Stupid.
I could be just talking out of my mind.
We'll have to research that one. I mean, to me, that sounds even... Well, you know what? That sounds more likely than that 2016 Ghostbusters movie that you're talking about that I don't think exists. Anyway, I
think I'm talking out of my mind.
Well, there you go. That's twice on this show that you've mentioned films that don't exist.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, it was rumored to be a thing. I just don't know if it came out.
I don't know. Feels like something that came off of The Onion. But anyway, my pick for next week is, I'm so sorry, but I'm in the holiday spirit, and
you're good, man.
My wife wanted to make her own pick, so I'm making this
Ashley's second pick.
Yeah, I'm making this pick on behalf of Ashley. She really wants to watch this movie with me, and I'm actually looking forward to it. Yeah,
I guess.
Go for it.
A Nightmare Before Christmas.
No.
Dang.
No, it's a good guess, though, because we did recently rewatch that. But Krampus from 2015. So it is a Christmas movie. I'm feeling in the Christmas spirit. I've never seen Krampus. I think my wife has. and
You wanna know something, Alex?
she wanted us to cover it on the podcast. So
Directed by the guy that directed Trick or Treat.
no way.
Yeah.
Look at it was. I'm looking at it right now. Yeah, Michael Dougherty. Well, there you go. So 2015's Krampus. It's currently on sale on Vudu, and I don't know where else you can watch this one. I don't know if you can get it anywhere for free, or as part of a streaming service, I should say.
YouTube, Amazon Prime, iTunes, Google Play, Vudu. It's on Fubo TV for free.
Fubo TV.
On YouTube for $1, and the rest of those up for $3.99.
YouTube for 99 cents. Look at that, dude. Yeah, man.
And it might be on Prime Video.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
Yeah, I purchased it on Vudu. It was on sale for like, I think, $6 or something like that.
It was on senior year Christmas party.
Yeah.
Like in school. It was on the TV. It was on the projector, but I didn't watch it. It was in my Cisco class. So I was either watching Royal Rumble or playing Super Mario Brothers. My computer.
Two good choices.
That's typically what I did.
So, moving on to sports. Some big baseball news.
Yeah.
So, first one, Steven Strasburg signs with the Washington Nationals, re-ups for 7 years, $245 million. So, I've always been a big Steve Strasburg fan. Think that he's really good. Think he's kind of underrated. I know that he's had some health issues in terms of just staying healthy. But the guy's already gone through his Tommy John surgery, so that's generally considered a positive because, it's just kind of a ticking time bomb. And I honestly think that this is a good move for the Nats. I know some people were kind of proponents of them keeping Anthony Rendon, but instead, and they could really only keep one. I couldn't imagine the Nationals.
They literally got the
both.
same exact contract.
They did, and that's kind of weird. I'm looking at that right now, and then
they have the same agent.
Oh, they do have
Actually,
Scott Boras.
all three of these guys have the same agent. Fun fact.
Well, Scott Boras has gotten Steven Strasburg great contract after great contract after great contract.
He gives everybody great contract. Scott Boras, he's a legend.
I know, but Strasburg came out of the draft and got the biggest contract ever for somebody coming out of the draft at that time. So I think it's a good move for the Nationals. I like their approach of just like, let's just have really good pitching and then figure the rest of it out. Andy, how do you feel about it?
The pitching wins baseball games.
It does. It's a pitcher's league right now, I think. I know offense is up somewhat, but you got to have a good pitcher to kind of mitigate that.
There's a reason why the Colorado Rockies have never done anything ever.
I mean, it's impossible to pitch in that park. Next one that kind of blew my mind. I thought this was... This is so risky. Garrett Cole signs a 9-year, $324 million contract with the New York Yankees. And yes, that's $36 million a year.
$1.14 every second for the next 9 years.
So hear me out on this, Andy. Is this not the most Yankee contract ever? Because I feel like this is going to be kind of like the CC Sabathia deal, where the tail end of this deal, I mean, no offense, I hope Garrett Cole is as effective as he's been for the entire 9 years.
There's a 5-year option, by the way.
Oh, there is? Okay. Yeah.
I think. One of these guys has a 5-year option. I'm pretty sure it's Garrett Cole.
I feel like
I know it's not Rendon. It's Strasburg or Cole has a 5-year option.
I just don't know. I just don't know if I would want to sign any pitcher for 9 years. That's a lot of time. A lot of stuff can go wrong.
It's the same thing in hockey. You don't want to sign your goalie to a bajillion years.
I just feel like the Yankees do this all the time, and sometimes it pays off, sometimes it doesn't. Like Sabathia is a good example where they got some really great performance for the first few years, and then it just quickly tapered off. A-Rod's another good example of the last couple of years, mainly due to suspensions. The
Jacoby Ellsbury.
That's the worst free agent deal ever. honestly. I'm struggling to think of a worse free agent deal ever in the MLB. Last I heard, they were trying to void that contract, and the players' union was like, "No, not going to happen." How do you feel about it, Andy? Do you feel like this was a good
Yeah,
play
they're the
for
best team in
Yankees?
baseball.
Well, no,
They're the favorites to win it all.
They are every year, but they usually don't.
There's no team like one. The Astros get worse in this move,
Mm-hmm.
and that was the main hole. Their bullpen is insane. Their rotation was already good. They just didn't have an ace. Their lineup from 1 to 9 is just insane.
It is pretty good. It is pretty good. That payroll is massive.
Barring
though.
injury, it's the best team in baseball.
Anthony Rendon going to the Angels for 7 years, $245 million. How do you feel about that one, really quickly, Andy? I feel like he's earned it. It's a good move for the Angels. Hopefully, they can get out of that Pujols contract sooner than later. I think that's almost up.
It's a sign that the Angels are going to finally give Trout some pieces. They're currently also focused on Bumgarner and Hyun-Jin Ryu, trying to get pitching, surround Trout with actual talent finally.
You know, I think in that market, I feel like it could work because they play in Anaheim. They don't play in Los Angeles. That's number one.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, I feel like they're one of the few franchises that could have a very big payroll and it actually makes them money overall. Whereas like Miami, for example, one year had a really bloated payroll, I want to say in 2012 when they built that new stadium, and it never paid off and they ended up losing a massive amount of money. So like, I think it'd be better for baseball if the Angels were competitive. I think we all want to see Mike Trout in the playoffs. I hope it happens. I really hope it happens. But it just never seems to work out for Mike Trout in that regard.
Rendon's contract is a no-trade clause, no option.
I mean, I'd want a no-trade clause too. Like, if I'm signing you look at what the Marlins did. You know, they signed some players.
Giancarlo.
Well, no, not necessarily that one, because he did have a no-trade clause, and he was able to kind of dictate to them, you know, where he did and didn't want to go. But Jose Reyes
has a no trade clause.
I mean, and I would do that too after seeing what happened to Jose Reyes in Miami, where Miami signed him to a big deal. They made it a big sticking point. They told Jose Reyes, "We'll give you more money if you don't put a no trade clause in this deal." And then they turn around and they trade Jose Reyes to Toronto. And I'm really sorry. Say whatever you want. I don't think Jose Reyes ever wanted to play in Toronto. Ever. Period. I think he really wanted to play in Miami. But nevertheless, good deal for Rendon. NFL week, 14 now? 15.
Week 15.
Jeez, where's the time going?
Thursday Night Football is the Ravens and the Jets. We didn't text each other. I didn't feel like asking because I knew who you were going to pick, and I feel like it's blatantly obvious who we're both going to pick.
Yeah.
So we both went with the Ravens, starting off the week 1-0, trying to pull it up real fast. Last week, I had a pretty good week as my computer's loading. I'm kind of pulling away. I went 14-2 last week, and you went 10-6.
Ouch.
Kind of flex. So we both went with the Ravens. So starting off Sunday football, we have the Chicago Bears at the Green Bay Packers, going with the Green Bay Packers.
I'm going to take the Bears.
We have the 10-3 New England Patriots at the 1-12 Cincinnati Bengals. Got to go with the Patriots because they cheated to get that footage. They're definitely going to win.
Yeah, I agree. Bengals, they're kind of screwed here. Patriots all the way.
5-8 Denver Broncos at the 9-4 Kansas City Chiefs, going with the Chiefs, even though I like the Broncos.
Yeah, I like the Broncos too, but I like the Chiefs. They're really hot right now, and they're playing at home. So yeah, Chiefs.
6-7 Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the 3-9-1 Detroit Lions, going with Tampa Bay for like the 5th time in a row.
Yeah, I'm going Bucko Bruce.
We have the Houston Texans and the Tennessee Titans, both 8-5. Winner takes the lead in the division. I'm going to go with Ryan Tannehill and the Tennessee Titans.
I'm going to go Houston Texans here.
Should be a fun one.
It's going to be a real fun one. Might be the game of the week, honestly.
Speaking of fun ones,
Mm-hmm.
We have the 3-10 Miami Dolphins at the 2-11 New York Giants. I'm gonna go with the Miami Dolphins.
I'm gonna take the Fins too, man. Fins up.
Then we have the 6-7 one wide receiver Philadelphia Eagles at the 3-10 Washington Redskins. I guess the Eagles. I don't know. I'm not confident in that.
I'm gonna take the underdog here because I really like what I'm seeing from Dwayne Haskins. So I'm taking the Redskins.
We have the 10-3 Seattle Seahawks at the 5-8 Carolina Panthers going with the Seahawks. It's a must-win game.
Yeah, I'm going with the Hawks too.
6-7 Cleveland Browns at the 3-9-1 Arizona Cardinals. Going with the Cleveland Browns.
Gonna take the Cardinals because they're playing at home.
The 4-9 Jacksonville Jaguars at the 6-7 Oakland Raiders. Going with the Raiders.
Raiders.
9-4 Minnesota Vikings at the 5-8 Los Angeles Chargers. Going with the Vikings. I'm just picking favorites. I don't know. I don't see any upsets.
I mean, this time of year, it kind of gets that way. Like, the Vikings have to win this game, and I think they're going to find a way to win this game, so I'm taking the Vikings.
The 4-9 Atlanta Falcons at the 11-2 number one team in the NFL, San Francisco 49ers.
Just have to throw that in there.
Picking.
Yeah, I got the Niners here, too.
The 8-5 Los Angeles Rams at the 6-7 Dallas Cowboys. I'm going with the LA Rams, keeping their playoff hopes alive.
I'm so stupid, but I'm picking the Cowboys here. I don't know. I continue to believe in this team that never shows me anything, but I'm going Cowboys.
The 9-4 Buffalo Bills at the Pittsburgh Steelers at 8-5. I believe they're both the wildcard teams in the AFC currently.
Yeah, this is going to be a good matchup, I think. I really like this game.
It's Sunday Night Football.
Yeah, I'm glad that they have a meaningful game on Sunday night here. Bills are really good on the road, though, so I'm actually going to take the Bills here. Yeah, sorry, Duck Hodges.
Then we have the 6-7 Indianapolis Colts at the New Orleans Saints. Saints bounce back.
Yeah, I like the Saints a lot. I know there's a lot of controversy around the game between them and the 49ers, but that game could have gone on forever. Like, if the time didn't run out, it would have just been back and forth and back and forth and back. Like, it was a really good game. It kind of like when the 49ers lost their two games, you were like, it wasn't a bad loss. Like, they didn't get curb stomped or anything. So I like the Saints here. So that's going to do it for DCD 59. Tune in next week. We're going to have Rick Moranis on here for episode 60. Pretty sure that's really going to happen for sure. As always, I want to remind you guys a couple ways you can support the podcast. Always have the t-shirt link in the description. You can check that out. If you buy a t-shirt, we get like $6 and you get a DCD t-shirt that you can wear anywhere. I've been wearing mine to job interviews and it's gone over like Rover. So that's cool. And then also Patreon. You can go to patreon.com/DCD podcast. Check out all the perks. For as little as $1 a month, you get early access to the podcast, and you get to make a film club pick every third week, and we put that in a poll. Speaking of which, there will be a poll this week on Twitter for the Patreon pick for, I guess, would that be 6? Okay. Actually, no, there will not be, because I forgot the arrangement that we've made. So, but yeah, DC 61 is the next Patreon pick, and looking forward to that. Want to thank our current Patreon backers, Dumbest Sphinx in the Egg tier, Bobby in the Andy tier, and Jared and Daniel in the Gold tier. Really appreciate the support. Because of you guys, we're able to actually do this podcast and not come out of pocket for it after the hosting costs and all kinds of other stuff. So,
because we get catering every week.
We do. We have about a $1 left over from the Patreon backers after covering everything. And every other month I order a McDouble. And and this month I got a McDouble. Andy's getting one next month. So thank you for that. We really appreciate the support, though. All joking aside, it really means a lot to me. So thank you. And then finally, if you don't want to support us monetarily, money's tight. I totally get it. I'm in the same situation. You can leave us a review on iTunes for free or subscribe to the YouTube channel. That's also free. And then go to deadchannelduo.com, and at the very top, there's a link to every place you can find us. We're on a lot of platforms, even some ones that you probably haven't heard of before. Like, I think we're on Stitcher. Most people don't even know what that is. Andy, anything else you want to say before we get out of here, man? We went way over time, by the way.
Yeah, I know. I'm aware.
Yeah.
I guess I'll do the same thing last week. Go watch Six Underground, new on Netflix. Michael Bay movie. That's going to be sick. Because Michael Bay is the greatest director of all time. Definitely being serious.
Okay, I totally didn't see that coming. Like, you really came out of left field with that one. That's a great way to end the show. So, thanks for listening, guys, and we'll see you next week for DCD 60. Rick Moranis, he's coming.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye.
Oh, that was a sad one, too.